What's going on guys, Tyler here and welcome to a new video. So with the January transfer window coming up soon, today I've taken a look at Charlton's current squad and I've determined players who we should be looking to keep hold of in January, players that I'd like to stay in January, players that could potentially move on to like a loan move, and players that could leave the club and we could potentially replace. As I've put all of the current players into this tier maker list. So at the top we have keep at all costs. These are players that I think we need to try and do our best to keep hold of. These are players we've got to try and keep hold of on our books and keep us to help us perform well this season. Then you go down to preferably stay. These are players that I don't think they're like massively important that we should be looking to keep hold of, but they are players that I would prefer to stay. Not really bothered, players that I'm not really bothered about whether what happens to them, whether they leave or stay, not really too bothered. Then we have could do with a loan spell, players that could potentially go out on loan, whether or not whether they've not got enough minutes this season or not, they could potentially go out on loan for the rest of the year. And the bottom category is leave now. Players that I think should be leaving the club in January and we could be replacing with someone better with them in January. So without any further hesitation, guys, let's jump straight into the video. So we're going to run through the squad in alphabetical order. So we're going to kickstart off things with Adam Matthews. Now, I've lobbed Adam in the preferably stay category, and this one I don't really need to go in much detail about. Adam joined the club in September on a one-year contract as a free agent, and it's highly unlikely that he's going to be leaving in January. I don't think that he should be going at all. I think he's played really well this season for the games he has played. He gets forward really well. Defensively, he's pretty decent as well, and he's definitely played a lot better than what some of the Sunderland fans were saying, because of course he was at Sunderland previously. Moving on to Albie Morgan, and I've put him in the could do with a loan spell category. Now, of course, Morgan was on loan previously, earlier in I think it was like September, October, sometime he was on loan with National League side Ebbsfleet, and he was recalled from Ebbsfleet, which Ebbsfleet fans were saying it was a massive blow to see him be recalled to Charlton, but of course, he was recalled to the club following our injury crisis that we currently have at the moment. Now, against Cardiff, which was his first appearance when he came off the bench, he was absolutely immense. Against Luton, he was a bit shambolic really. He wasn't very good. Against Sheffield Wednesday, we'll let him off because he had a bit of a sickness bug, and he came off the bench yesterday in our 1-0 defeat against Middlesbrough, which I'm still livid about. But apparently he made an impact. But for me, I think when our injuries come back, and after January, I do expect us to pick up a couple of midfielders in January. I do think that Morgan will fall further down the pecking order. It is a shame really, because I do really like Morgan and I think he deserves more minutes. But I think that after January and with the players that we could potentially bring in, I think Morgan could probably do with a loan spell. There is a youngster on our books that I definitely think we should be looking to keep hold of, and that is Alfie Doughty. Alfie Doughty has really impressed me this season. He's been absolutely fantastic in the games he has played. I've put him in the preferably stay category. I don't think he's a player that we should be absolutely looking to keep hold of. Like, we should get out of our way to keep him at the club because I think he is likely to stay. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't think we should send him back out on loan, though, because, of course, he was with Bromley, I believe, earlier in the season. He did really well for Bromley, actually. I think it was like 2 goals and 3 assists for Alfie Doughty, I think. But again, like Morgan, he come off the bench against Cardiff and he was absolutely immense. He was superb. Luton, he was brilliant. Sheffield Wednesday, he started, and honestly, he was absolutely superb. He got the assist from Macaulay Bond's goal. Doughty was absolutely superb. He started again against Middlesbrough, occupying like a left wing position in like a 4-3-3 formation. Apparently the formation didn't really work. I don't know how Doughty played because I didn't see the game. But for me, Doughty's been absolutely fantastic, and I think we should be looking to keep hold of him and start him more often because he shows passion, he shows desire. As for Ashley Maynard-Brewer, I've lobbed him in the could do with a loan spell category. Again, like Albie Morgan and Alfie Doughty, he was on loan previously due to the fact that we obviously had our other second choice keeper, Ben Amos. Ben Amos recently had a finger injury, I think it was, that he sustained in training, and Ashley Maynard-Brewer was on loan with Dulwich Hamlet, I believe, at the time. He was recalled to provide cover for Dylan Phillips if we needed him to be. I think when Ben Amos does return from injury, though, I think Maynard-Brewer is likely to go back to the subs, is likely to go back to being our third choice keeper, and I can see him going out on loan because he has done that previously, going out to Chelmsford City last year, and then he went off to Dulwich Hamlet, so I can see that happening again. Speaking of Ben Amos, I've loved him in the not really bothered category. To be honest, again, like after Adam Matthews and players like that, I can't see Amos going in January, considering we signed him in the summer. Amos, though, hasn't got the amount of minutes that we probably envisioned he would get at the start of the season. He hasn't played a minute of Championship football at all. The only minutes he has played was in pre-season and in cup games. He is, of course, injured at the moment, out with a finger injury that, again, as I mentioned, he probably got in training. But if he is to go in January for whatever reason, I can't see him going in January, but for whatever reason, if we decide to let him go in January, it won't really affect me as much, to be honest, because he hasn't had much of an impact at all. Another player that's going in a not really bothered category, and this one is going to cause a lot of controversy for me, it is Ben Purrington. To be honest, like, I'm just going to voice my opinion right now about Ben Purrington. I think for a player that had a lot of promise at the start of the season, like he was very highly rated, scored at Wembley, of course, got the first goal of this season against Blackburn. But for the player that I think he was promised to be, in my opinion, I think Purrington's not delivered. I think Purrington's been fairly average this season, to be honest. I think that his passing's been quite off sometimes. Defensively, he's looked a bit shaky. And most games, he's just been completely non-existent. We may as well not even have him on the pitch. But there's been a lot of games that I can pinpoint where Purrington has been terrible. And I think, as I said, I think for Purrington, I think again joining in the summer on a 3-month contract, it's very unlikely, 3-month contract, 3-year contract, it is very unlikely that he will leave in January. But if, again, for whatever reason, if he is to go in January, I won't be too affected by it. Now we have the first player entering the leave now category, and again, this one's going to cause a lot of controversy. I've spoken about this on Twitter recently. It is Beram Kayal. Now, let me explain. The reason why I've put Beram Kayal in the leave now category is because he is currently out injured. He's currently back at Brighton receiving treatment for an injury that he apparently needs surgery for. He's supposedly going to be out for 7 to 8 weeks. That keeps him out of the squad until at least February. Now, in my opinion, I think we should cancel Kayal's loan move and go with another loan player, or maybe sign someone on a permanent basis in January, because it's just a waste of a loan move, really, just a waste of wages. We're probably not paying a lot of Kayal's wages. Probably Brighton are supplying most of that. But for me, if Kayal's going to be injured until February and we've got January coming up, and hopefully with the takeover, if it is to go through, we're going to get investment in January, and I think we will be looking to sign a couple centre midfielders in January, or I assume that Bowyer will want to anyway. I think we cancel Kayal's loan move and bring someone else in to replace him. Chris Sully goes into the not really bothered category for me. We all know what's going to go on here. Of course, one-man club Chris Sully. There is no way in hell he's going to be leaving Charlton. Another player entering the not really bothered category, and a player that again is going to cause a lot of controversy in terms of this tier decision, it is Chuks Aneke. Now, I really liked the prospect of Chuks Aneke coming to the club when he joined from MK Dons in the summer. Once again, this is probably a reason as to why he is in the middle category, because despite how poor he's been this season, once again, I can't see him going in January because we signed him so soon. But if Bowyer is to let him go, I won't be too affected by it. I think Aneke, of course, scoring against Stoke, that's his only highlight he's had this season. And since then, I don't know what his work ethic has been. Literally, he is match fit and he just strolls around the pitch. Well, he was match fit until he recently got injured. I don't know how he got injured, but he is apparently back from injury now. I expect him to be back available for the squad for the Huddersfield game on Tuesday. But he needs a massive improvement for me. For me, I think December is his chance to prove himself. And if he doesn't, then that could be Bowyer knocking on the door of the transfer window for Aneke to go. Now we have the first player in the keep at all costs category, and that is of course Chelsea loanee Conor Gallagher. We have to do everything in our power to keep him from going back to Chelsea. I can't see it happening though. That's the thing. I can't see it happening. And I can't see Frank Lampard recalling into the Chelsea squad, because for me, if he is to be recalled, let's face it, he's not going to get in the side in Chelsea, is he? Ahead of like Kante, Kovacic and Jorginho and players like that. He'd probably be lucky to get on the subs bench. I think if he is to be recalled, he'll probably go back out on loan again. But Gallagher's been absolutely superb this season. Absolutely fantastic. Joining him in the keep at all costs category is someone that no one in the Championship expected to be absolutely immense for us this season. It is Darren Pratley. This guy, I still can't believe how this guy is still underrated by Charlton fans. He is just unsung hero. You look at his age, 34, and you think, oh, he's not going to have the legs to compete in the Championship anymore. What you saying now? Darren Pratley, absolutely fantastic. He's been absolutely superb for us in the middle of the park this season. Deji Oshalaja, I've put in the preferably stay category. Once again, as I've said with many of these players, of course, we signed Deji in the summer, so it is unlikely for him to be all of a sudden sold off in January. But Deji, for the most part, I think he's been fantastic this season. He's really put in a solid performance. Recently, he has been occupying what Darren Pratley and Christian Bielik used to occupy, playing kind of like a centre-back, but he roamed forward a little bit into the CDM position, and I think Oshalaja fits that position really well. He's very versatile. He can play across the entire back line. We saw him play right back earlier on in the season, which he played really well in until he got injured against Brentford. Then when he came back against Wigan, he was absolutely shambolic. But then since then, he's recovered really well, and I definitely think we should be seeing Oshalaja play a lot more. The third player going in the keep at all costs category is Charlton's #1, Dylan Phillips. I do think, though, well, Phillips for me, he's got to stay 100%. We've got to try and keep hold of this guy. He's played every single minute in the Championship this season, and some of the saves he's pulled off. He's such a brilliant shot stopper. Absolutely fantastic this season. And yeah, I don't really see him going anywhere in January. I don't know if there's going to be any interest. I haven't heard anything thus far. But for me, Dill, superb this season. Absolutely fantastic in between the sticks, and long may it continue. Ernest Tuma, I've put in the not really bothered category. Once again, like I keep saying with many players, he joined recently. There's no way he's going to be going in January, but he's not a player that we should be getting out of our way to keep him at the club. I think the one thing that frustrates me about Tuma is inconsistency. You do see that sometimes he just has like against Nottingham Forest, he had an absolute blinder. Then the next time we saw him, he wasn't up to par, wasn't up to the same standard that he played against Nottingham Forest. But I know what Tuma was capable of, but unfortunately, he now adds to the growing list of players that we now have out injured, because it was confirmed earlier today that Tuma is also out injured, which is just phenomenal, isn't it? Now we have another player entering the could do with a loan spell category, and that is George Lapsley. I definitely think that George could definitely do with a loan spell this season. I think that he started off so well. He played brilliantly against Blackburn at the start of the season. He put in some really good performances. He played superb at right back against Brentford, actually, when Oshilaja came off with an injury, with concussion, I believe. But since then, Lapsley, he's been out of injury. He came on against Millwall and didn't really have that much of an impact. But for me, George, I just think he's lacked game time this season. I think he definitely could do with that. Stankowski, for me, goes in the preferably stay category. I think that at the start of the season, I didn't think that Stankowski would have a good year. Obviously, he spent the entirety of 2018-19 out of an ACL injury, and I think with him having to step up a league, I felt that we probably could have sent him out on loan or let him go. He didn't play that well against Blackburn at the start of the season. Not as you could tell that he kind of lost it a little bit because of his injury, but he came off the bench against Swansea, I think it was, and he occupied left wing back, and honestly, he was absolutely fantastic, and he played against Fulham and Derby, and he was superb. The injury against Bristol City, though, was a massive, massive blow, because he was playing so well at that point. And I don't know the extent of his injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I hope it's nothing major. But for me, Jake, I'd massively prefer him to stay. James Vinings could potentially do with a loan move, really. I think he's pretty much only just emerged into the Charlton scene. He had to come onto the bench in recent games because of the depleted squad that we now have. He came onto the bench against Luton. He then came off the bench against Sheffield Wednesday, where he did look a bit promising. He didn't come off the bench against Middlesbrough, but he was there. But for me, I don't know if, I don't even think Vinings is even a first-team player, to be honest with you. I think he's probably going to be going back to the under-23s. Jason Pearce goes in the keep-at-all-cost category for me. He's the fourth player to go in there, in my opinion. For me, Jason Pearce, I think he's probably been one of our most consistent players this season. Some people have been saying recently that he hasn't been amazing in the last couple of games, but I think that for the most part this season, I think he's been playing really well. Now we have a player who's been causing a lot of debate and, quite frankly, a lot of frustration amongst the Charlton fan base this season. It is Jonathan Lecco. I've put him in the not really bothered category. I don't think I've ever seen a player more frustrate me. I don't think I've ever seen a player frustrate me as much as Lecco has this season. He started the season brilliantly. He was absolutely fantastic at the start, using his skill to beat players. I felt he was going to be a magician. And for me, game by game, he's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. He's 5 goals this season. I don't think his performances justify that at all for me. I can't see West Brom recalling him at this stage. I think West Brom fans were saying that Charlton hopefully can cure his arrogance of the ball, and we haven't done it. His passing is terrible. Technically, he's a good player. Technically, he's a fantastic player, but he doesn't use his brain a little bit. He is quite arrogant, tries to beat players while looking for the simple option, and when he does look for the simple option, it is horrific. The fifth player entering the keep at all cost category for me is the Welsh magician Johnny Williams. I love Johnny so much, man. He's been absolutely immense this season. The one thing that got on my nerves with Johnny last season is the fact that he had no end product. He's now come out the park and got 5 assists this season. The injury, though, was a massive, massive blow. But thankfully, it's not as serious as we envisioned, but we have missed Johnny massively in this team at the moment. It's going to be great to have him back for the game against Hull City. He's likely to be on the bench for that game. And yeah, we need Johnny back big time because we've missed him so much. He's definitely a player we've got to try and keep hold of in January. Joining him in the keep at all cost category is another loanee player, Josh Cullen. Again, another player who's out injured. Lee Bowyer has expected Cullen to be back until after Christmas, which is a massive, massive blow. However, he is a player we've got to try and keep hold of. West Ham, Manuel Pellegrini, we've got to try and keep Pellegrini away from Cullen, keep him at the club until the end of the season. And then who knows after that? Will we get Cullen back on a permanent basis? Who knows? It's up for Matt Southall and the new owners to decide that. Now, like James Vinings, Josh Davison, again, I don't really see him Like, I don't see him staying in the first team for much longer until the injuries come back. But again, that's up to Bowyer to decide. But I've put him in the could do with a loan spell category just in case, because I can see him going back to the under-23s. We now have another player entering the leave now category, and I do believe that this is the last player that enters the leave now category. I've only put 2 players there, and the second one is Lewis Paige. Now, again, I'm probably going to get grief for saying this, but I'm sorry, it's about time that Paige leaves Charlton. I think every single season he's been at the club, it's always injury after injury after injury. Last year, he got injured in September. He was expected to come back like November, December time. Then it got pushed back to February, then to April, and he didn't make another appearance for the squad at all for the rest of that season after September. And then he gets an injury in pre-season against Gillingham this year, and we've not seen him since. Me personally, Paige, he's got to go. I'm sorry, he's got to go. We've got to bring in someone that is at least capable of staying on his feet and is basically not a shard of glass. We've got to try and bring in a left back that can rival Ben Purrington. Yeah, I probably don't think I need to go into much detail with this one. Lyle Taylor, come on, man. We've got to try and we've got to do. Seriously, Matt Southall, the takeover boys, the new owners. Get this man a contract, seriously. Taylor's up a contract at the end of this season. They have said that the main ambition is tying Taylor down. Lyle, if you're watching this video, strongly doubt if you are watching this video, please stay. Sign for Charlton. And joining Lyle Taylor in the keep at all costs category, and again is a player that I can't really see going in January because he signed in the summer, it is Macaulay Bond. No one would have expected Macaulay Bond to have the season that he has had. He's got 6 goals for us this season. He's just been absolutely amazing this season, and I think he's going to form a brilliant strike partnership with Lyle Taylor. Now, this one's quite an interesting one. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about this one, but going in the not really bothered category is Naby Sarr. Now, this one, again, as I've said, it's going to cause a little bit of debate because some people probably would like to see Sarr go. Some would probably like to see him stay. Me, personally, I'm a bit on the fence with this one. I think that defensively, we've been very shaky recently. Sarr hasn't, I think, has Sarr? No, he didn't play against Middlesbrough, but I think he has put in a lot of shaky performances. He has been a little bit of a bad run. Whether or not that's worthy of him needing to leave the club is up for debate. I think that if, let's face it, I think that if we are to get rid of a centre-back in January, the most likely candidate to go in January is Sarr. Considering that Oshilaja and Lockyer signed recently, and Pearce, let's face it, he won't be going anywhere. But Sarr is definitely the most likely centre-back to leave the club. Whether or not Bowyer can see Sarr going and bringing in someone else is up to him. But I think that it could potentially be on the cards for Sarr to go. Now, once again, we have a little bit of a difficult one here. In the preferably stay category, I've gone with Sam Field. Now, the reason why I've put Sam Field in the preferably stay category, some people may argue it's a similar case to Baram Kyle, but we're not known as to Sam Field's injury. We don't know how serious it is, but I expect it is to be quite serious, and it's a massive shame to see Sam going, because Sam's been playing really well recently up until we got injured. I think he started off a bit slow, but I think he got into it, and when he grew into it, you could see he is a really good championship player, and I think he is a decent little player. However, his injury came at completely the wrong time, but I would like to see Sam stay at the club. Tom Lockyer, I think we all know where he's going to end up going. He's going in the preferably stay category. Once again, signing in the summer. You can't really see him going in January anywhere anytime soon. The final player to end this video off, let me know, by the way, in the comments below if I have left anyone out, because I'm not really too sure. But the player ending this video, once again, like Naby Sarr and several players in this video, causes a lot of debate. It's Tomer Hemet. I've put him in the not really bothered category. For me, it's the same case with Chuks Aneke for me with Tomer Hemet. I think that, obviously, he came to the club. He's obviously our player, permanent basis from Brighton. He signed on a 1-year contract, and let's face it, he's not really been as good as people probably would have envisioned him to be. He started against Birmingham and against Wigan, and he was absolutely shambolic. We were literally just playing hoofball. He was hoping for it to be on his head, and after time, he didn't even win a single header in the game. He came off the bench against Derby, and then we haven't seen him since, because somehow he got injured again. It was like a groin injury of some kind, I'm not too sure. But for me, Hemet is the same case with Aneke. That's why I've said that they shouldn't go. Like, I don't think we should let go of them because it's a bit harsh. But for me, Hemet, this is his month to prove to us that he should be staying at the club. I think that in Hemet's case, I think we can let him go in January, considering that he's only with us for a year. I think that he's a player that we can let go in January, and he is the player that is the most likely to go in January in terms of the strikers, because I think we do need a striker in January, potentially, but only if we let someone go. But like Aneke, Hemet, December is his chance to shine. He has a chance to prove to us what he can do. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on the post notifications on so you're notified of when I post. What do you think about this tier list? Do you think I've made any clangers, made any mistakes? Let me know in the comments below. Who should stay, who should go in January? It's been Tyler Ronitson. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all on Tuesday for the matchday vlog against Huddersfield Town. Take it easy, guys.